Google LSA has one of the highest success rates out of any advertising channel. Thousands of cleaning businesses have scaled to multiple six figures just off of this platform alone. The question is Google LSA still profitable today? Well, in this video, I'm going to uncover, first of all, what is Google Local Services, results that you can expect based on both published and anecdotal evidence, common pitfalls with this channel, and best practices so you can stay on top and actually make money and grow your business profitably rather than lose money every year. So let's start off with, first of all, what is Google Local Services? Well, let's say someone in your area is on Google and they're searching for terms like house cleaning or maid services near me. There's going to be a list of cleaning businesses that pop up. And the first businesses that you see are going to be sponsored listings, which is through Google's advertising platforms. So right at the very top, you're going to see the local services ads, and you'll know because you'll see a text that says sponsored along with the company's Google business profile. So you can often see the reviews, and then there will be two options to either call the business or send them a message. And depending if you're on mobile or desktop, you might see a green guaranteed badge next to the business name. So that's another way to clarify that it's a Google local service listing. And essentially what you're doing is you're paying to skip the line. Now, what happens with these local service listings is the companies only get charged if a user actually calls or sends a message to that business. Now, why are they popular? Well, for one, they're very easy to set up. They require very little maintenance and strategy. Unlike Google search ads or even meta ads that require a lot more testing and monitoring, Google LSA is a lot more straightforward. Also, generally, they're going to produce high quality leads because if you think about it, if someone is going out of their way to specifically search for a cleaning service and call that business, their buyer intent is already high and they're likely to convert. So for this reason, Google LSA is one of the first advertising platforms I often recommend for any cleaning business who wants to scale. So now let's move on and talk about real world results. What can you expect with this advertising platform? So based on the data that I've seen with companies we've worked with, as well as published data online, what I've come to the conclusion is that most companies are probably going to be generating anywhere between 3 to 10 leads per week, somewhere in that range. And about 40 to 60% of those leads are likely to convert into actual book jobs. So to keep the math simple, we could say, 50%. And this is assuming that you're doing the necessary requirements such as answering these leads quickly, having a solid sales process and that sort of thing, which we will get into shortly. But 50% is an excellent conversion rate for cold traffic. Even with Google pay-per-click ads or meta ads or TikTok and Angie, Thumbtack, whatever it is, you're very unlikely to have a 50% conversion rate. So I would say this is one of your most promising channels as far as having a high conversion rate goes. Now, your average cost per lead can vary quite a bit. So this is going to depend on your market and how competitive it is. But I would say an average cost per lead would probably be somewhere between $30 on the low end up to maybe, $70 or even more in really saturated markets. Now, to some of you, that might seem outrageous. But what you have to remember is that cost per acquisition and even furthermore, customer lifetime value, finding ways to maximize that, which we will also get into later on in this video, are really going to be sort of your North Stars when it comes to assessing different advertising channels. But assuming you have both dialed in, you really shouldn't have to worry too much about your cost per lead. So all of that considered, for a modest spend of about $1,000 a month, you might be looking at around 8 to 10 new book jobs per month. So now let's talk about some of the reasons why local services might not actually work for you. The first thing I'll say is not answering your phone. So this might sound silly, but you have to ask yourself, are you someone who actually answers the phone to unknown numbers? And the home servicing industry is notorious for having a lot of business owners that do not answer their phone. And since this platform is very much so call focused, you need to be willing to pick up every single call. Even if you have a slight suspicion it might be a telemarketer, it's just a mindset hurdle that you have to get over. Now, following up on that previous point, speed to lead. So the first company to respond to an inquiry is likely to win that sale. So obviously picking up your phone to all calls coming in, but let's just say that you do happen to miss that call. Well, are you getting back to them quickly, within minutes instead of hours or worse, days. Or let's say a lead sends you a message. Are you responding to them ASAP? The time delay from that initial inquiry to when you actually contact that lead is critical for your conversion percentage. Now, the next thing we'll talk about is reviews and reputation. So this platform directly links with your Google business profile, which is going to show how many reviews you have as well as your average rating. And having too few reviews, or worse, you have a poor rating, I would say LSA probably shouldn't be your first focus. You might have some internal things within your business that you have to fix first. Otherwise, you're going to constantly be dealing with customer complaints and have an opposing force working against you, which is your bad reputation. And sometimes you have to put yourself in the shoes of these customers. I mean, let's just say that you were looking for a company and you stumbled upon 4 local service listings and all the companies had similar ratings, and then there was that 5th company that just sort of stood out like a sore thumb, and that company, let's say, was a 3.9 star rating. Well, you're probably going to contact that business last, if at all. Now, another thing is going to be one-time cleanings. So Google is known to provide urgent buyers, which is great. You know, if someone is actively searching for cleaning companies, then their buyer intent is high, and you could probably close them within minutes of talking to them. That being said, I have seen that where they struggle to convert these people into recurring. It's just not feasible because these people are moving out of the state. And as you know, without an increase in recurring revenue, it is nearly impossible to scale. And last but not least, increased competition equals increased cost. So Google LSA is not this blue ocean that it used to be. Pretty much every seasoned cleaning business is currently running LSA or has at least tried it in the past. And as more and more people get on the platform, costs will just continue to climb. That's basic supply and demand. And there's really not much you can do about that. So with those disclaimers aside, are we doomed? You know, is Google LSA just a lost cause, or is there still some hope to actually make money and grow with this platform? Well, the answer is yes, there still is hope, but you just have to have these boxes checked. So the first solution I'm going to tell you guys is to maximize your Google reviews. So reviews have so many benefits to your business. For one, they're going to directly help your LSA rankings. They're also going to help your organic search rankings. They're going to increase your company's perceived value. They're going to make future sales a whole lot easier now that people are reading these reviews and less likely to give you the common objections. So I would focus on this like a part-time job. And I always found it interesting that business owners will spend so much time and effort into acquiring new customers for their business, but they won't spend nearly that same effort when it comes to turning those sales into reviews for their business. I really think you should spend an equal amount of effort into getting those people into leaving you a review, if not more, because it is so valuable. Now, another thing is going to be having a rock solid sales process. So we talked about this briefly already with, speed to lead, making sure that you're answering the phone quickly, calling and messaging all leads back quickly. Now, to add to this, I would also say having a script that you or your virtual assistant can follow and sell with conviction is absolutely important, because if you can't sell your service with conviction, then Google LSA is probably not for you. Now, another thing I'm going to talk about is back-end nurturing. So as soon as a lead inquires, it's a good idea to grab their contact details and figure out some way to stay in front of them. For example, here at Celebrity Maid, we have a CRM system where anytime a new lead comes in, we have about 2 monthly email promotions going out to all leads, as well as the occasional SMS blast for different holidays or flash sales, but also just to warmly follow up if we feel like it's been a while that a lead hasn't been contacted. And this is so important because a lot of people tend to look at LSA as a one and done deal, meaning let's say they don't get that sale, then okay, it's a lost cause, whatever, move on. But if you have that contact's details, even if they decided to proceed with another company for that initial clean, who's to say that 6 months from now or 12 months from now, they're looking for another cleaning company. And by staying top of mind, you have a good chance at being the next person they contact. And guys, most importantly, the last point that I think is going to trump everything is going to be finding a way to increase your customer lifetime value. So costs are going to continue to climb up, and you can fight all day long trying to reduce your lead cost by an extra $20 or $30. And yes, this does have an impact, but ultimately increasing your lifetime value is the lever that you have the most control over. In other words, you might be able to reduce your cost per lead by 40%, let's say, and achieve some profitability that way. Or you can find a way to make your clients 5 times more valuable, 10 times, even 20 times more valuable, which is going to have a lot bigger of an impact and a return to your bottom line. Now, if you're wondering what exactly is customer lifetime value or how can you increase it, I created a video here that explains 3 simple things you can do in your cleaning business today to make more money per customer. Check it out.